Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us in this session of Starting an Investment Club. These sessions will be conducted periodically online, like we are this evening, to provide you with information and resources that you need to start and run a successful and profitable investment club. Now, tonight's presentation is titled Investing with Friends, an Introduction to Investment Clubs, and will be presented by Carol Thine and Ken Kavula. The plan is to have an informal conversation between these two experienced club members where they will discuss what an investment club is, how to join a club, how to start an investment club, how we invest in stocks, and you'll learn what the member experience is like and much more. Now, at any time during the presentation, feel free to ask questions to Carol and Ken by typing your question in the question box, which is located in the control panel at the right side of your screen. If you can't see that box, there's a little red arrow at a tab that you can click on up at the top, and that should open up the control panel and you'll be able to view the question pane. Now, Carol is a director on the Better Investing Volunteer Advisory Board. That's our national volunteer board, better known as the BIVA board. She's also on the board of the Better Investing Puget Sound chapter and a member of the Puget Sound Model Investment Club. Ken is president of the Better Investing Mid-Michigan chapter. He has served as chair of the BIVA board. He's a member of the Wolves Investment Club, a member of the NAIC Mid-Michigan Model Investment Club, the B.I. Baker Model Investment Club, and the Kavula Family Investment Club. So together, they've helped hundreds of clubs over the years to get started and learn how to successfully apply better investing stock principles. Now, before we open up the floor to Ken and Carol, I want to tell you a little bit about Better Investing to familiarize you with the organization bringing you this presentation. Thank you, Ken. For over 60 years, Better Investing has helped millions of individuals like yourselves become successful investors. Better Investing is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We're a community of over 4,500 investment clubs and 100,000 investors nationwide. We are a volunteer-based organization. We have over 700 volunteer educators in 68 chapters across the U.S. These are folks who are there to help you become a better investor. We don't charge commissions because we don't make stock recommendations. We don't buy, hold, or sell securities for you. We don't manage your money. We help you do those things on your own and hope you do them well. Our mission is quite simple. We want to create successful lifelong investors. So at this time, I'd like to welcome our presenters, Carol and Ken.
Thank you so much, Dennis. Hello, Carol.
Hi, Ken.
As Dennis told you, this is going to be an informal discussion this evening, and anytime you need to ask a question, feel free to type it in the question pane. We'll either get that question answered by our backroom staff, and we have a staff of 8 or 10 folks back in the back room answering questions tonight. And if it's a question that has universal appeal, Dennis will ask it right live so we can get the answer out to you immediately. You know, Carol and I are both hooked. We're hooked on investment clubs. We're hooked on the idea of investment clubs. We feel that they're very, very instrumental in creating the kind of successful investing lives that Carol and I both have. Would you agree, Carol?
I absolutely would. It's made a big difference in my life, and actually, even though I'm currently in the Puget Sound Model Club, I actually started another investment club about 15 years ago, and that club lasted for 10 years, and that was really my first introduction to better investing, and it's just been a wonderful, wonderful experience.
My experience with investing goes back to the late 80s when Natalie and I were trying to manage a portfolio without absolutely any understanding of what it was to buy stocks or sell stocks or create a good portfolio. We found out very soon that we needed some guidance and some knowledge, and we discovered Better Investing in the early 90s. We formed our own investment club, the Wolves Investment Club, and that club is still going today. We have 15 members. We have a portfolio that is larger than we ever would have dreamed that we'd be able to put together by throwing in $25 or $50 a month. And today we're to the point where our club is functioning at a very high level, and we have a relative return which is actually, since the inception of the club, beating the market on an annualized basis. We're beating the market by, depending on the day that you make the reading, anywhere from 1.5 to 2.5 points. And that means that that's been going strong now for almost 20 years. You know, I can't imagine what my life would be like without an investment club. First of all, I wouldn't have been able to retire as early as I did. Carol, I know you retired early also. What kind of story do you bring to the early retirement idea?
Well, my retirement was actually very early in life. It was due to some good fortune and hard work, but I didn't discover better investing until after I retired. And one of the key things for me was that it really did teach me how to learn how to manage this fortune that I wasn't really quite expecting to happen in my life that did. And I had other friends who retired around the same time, and they didn't get as good of advice or really take control of their own money, and they did have to go back to work later, you know, during their retirement because they were running out of money. So I'm very glad that I found Better Investing and my investment club. It really did help me in my retirement, and I hope to stay retired till the day I die.
It's kind of an open secret, Carol, isn't it, that you retired right from Microsoft, that you were an early employee of Microsoft, and that led to financial security very early in life, right?
That would be correct, indeed. The good old MSFT.
I do know that I would not have the funds available for my retirement that I do have today if I hadn't discovered Better Investing. I was able to retire at age 53, and my wife was able to retire at almost the exact same time. And we were able to lead a comfortable life. We're not extravagant. We don't do all kinds of things that you might expect from the super wealthy, but we do live comfortably, and we're pretty sure that we've structured our portfolios along the lines of a good, better investing portfolio so that we're going to be able to have money all the way to the point where we leave this earth. I do know also that I would never have had as many opportunities to learn from as many bright people as I've been exposed to in Better Investing. I probably would have stayed relatively local, learned from people around the place where I lived, but I never would have been able to learn from the folks in Puget Sound or the folks in Colorado or the folks in Indianapolis or in Georgia, or of all the different places where I've traveled and learned from investors and all the different hints that they've given me, not only to keep my club running well, but to keep my investments on a solid footing as well. Carol, I know you do a lot of traveling for Better Investing as well. Are your experiences similar?
They are. I've been doing quite a bit of travel recently in the Southwest area, and with different chapters there, visiting model clubs, and they are really bringing in a nice variety of people into their clubs, as young as college students, and later on you'll see a father and son that recently joined the model club. So it's just a great experience, and personally one of the other things that I really like about being in an investment club is the fact that it does give you that scheduled once a month time to learn. It really, you know, it's on your schedule, you make time for it, and it really helps keep you on track to really manage not only your investment club portfolio but your personal finances as well.
Yeah, Carol mentioned model clubs, and these are great programs. They're popping up all over the country in our Better Investing chapters, and what they are is typical investment clubs. They have all the characteristics of any other of our investment clubs, but they happen to be open to the public so that the public can come and watch what the club is doing. They can learn from what the club is putting together, and if they have room in the model club, they can actually join the model club if they choose to. I would urge you, if there's a model club meeting anywhere near you, to visit one of them in the next 3 or 4 months and find out what a high-functioning investment club really looks like. I also know that if I didn't have my investment clubs, I would not be having as much fun as I have a lot of times. Especially my Wolves Investment Club has become a family group. It's 15 people. About 8 or 9 of them have been together for a long, long time, and we're support for each other. We're help with each other. We're going through the phases of life together. Some of us are doing it before others. Some of us are much older. We have some young members in the club, but socially it's been a wonderful experience as well to share the whole concept of financial security and financial freedom with a group of friends. So
Recently,
what is
Ken, I just wanted to share.
Sure.
I visit a lot of investment clubs besides having been in clubs, and one of the investment clubs annually has a club retreat. They get together and have some fun together besides spending time to learn more. And one of these clubs recently, most of the members were able to go on the Puget Sound cruise to Alaska together, and that was a whole lot of fun.
That's a wonderful thing that can happen. What exactly is an investment club? Well, this picture down here is one of my investment clubs. This is the NAIC Mid-Michigan Model Investment Club meeting just a couple of weeks ago. That's one of our members making an actual educational presentation. She took about 35 minutes enlightening us about a website that she had discovered. But an investment club basically can be a group of like-minded people. My first investment club, I was a high school principal, and all of the folks associated with the Wolves Investment Club originally were people that worked in my building. They were teachers, support staff. We had a couple of exceptions to that rule because we live in a small community, and I knew the students from the last 20 years that had graduated, so I was able to convince a couple of the very best and brightest of students that had graduated from our school to also join us in this journey of investing. So it's like-minded people that form clubs a lot of times. It's a definite partnership. It's a legal entity, and we're forming ourselves into the partnership and binding ourselves together by a series of rules. It's a learning experience. It's a social opportunity. It's a group of friends, finally, and to be honest, for me, it's all of the above. So, Carol, how do you join an investment club? What do you do to find that investment club?
I think that there's a number of ways to do it. Definitely you want to start by checking with your local chapter. They may not offer all of these things, but they might offer a few of them. And again, your local chapter might cover, look for one that's within, 60, 90 miles of your house, of where you live. There might be a few pockets where there isn't a chapter, but we'll point you to where you can get more help if you don't have a chapter in your area. So you want to, first of all, think about checking out to see what events that they have. They might be having a class or a stock talk or an education day. Attend those events and network with the people that are attending. You'll find lots of people in different clubs attending those events. Informal visit to a club. Again, your chapter can put you in touch with clubs that are in your area for you to just go observe what a club is like and see how different clubs operate. That's a good first step if you're thinking about starting your own club. Some of the chapters also have a formalized Find a Club program where clubs have self-identified themselves as looking for club members. Lastly, you want to perhaps look for a model club, which Ken talked about, that there are chapters who have experienced at least a few volunteers in their model clubs, that they open up their meetings for the public to observe and see what it's like to be an investment club. So you might consider joining a model club or just using it as a connection. And then, of course, there is lots of support in helping you form an investment club.
And not every chapter is going to have all of these programs, but every single one of the 75 Better Investing chapters will at least do one of the things on this list, and most of them will do 2 or 3 or 4 of the things. I would very, very firmly point you toward attending chapter functions to get to know the kinds of people that are involved in these investment clubs. I definitely would tell you to visit a model club. You can find information on their websites about when those meetings are and where they're occurring. And any chapter would be happy to provide support in forming a new club. Now, what happens if you're not near a local chapter? Because if you're 150 miles away from the nearest chapter center, it becomes more difficult to do some of these activities. Well, we're starting a brand new program at the central office through BI Member Services, where we're going to be providing some club mentors if you'd like to get a club started, especially in an area that's not covered by a Better Investing chapter. If that program sounds interesting to you, here's the phone number for Better Investing. Here's a website where you can make an inquiry. I've given you my email address already, and I'm sure that I speak for Carol when I say either one of us would be more than happy to help guide you through finding somebody that can help you form a club. And when it's all said and done, there's a community out there of hundreds of different people, and their goal, the thing that makes them happiest, is getting people involved in investment clubs and getting them on the road to financial security. This picture happens to be the Cincinnati Model Investment Club. They call themselves the OKI Investment Club. Stands for Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, because they have members from all 3 states. You know that Cincinnati sits right down at the border of the 3 states. And this club meets monthly, as do most model investment clubs. If you're going to be starting your own club, the first thing you have to do is identify some potential members. You know, I have a family investment club, and it doesn't run exactly the same way as my other 3 investment clubs do, but identifying potential members was fairly easy in the family club. My first investment club, I already told you, was a like-minded group of individuals from the building that I happen to be the principal of. But a lot of other investment clubs are made up of friends and friends of friends. You can do so many things to get the word out that you'd like to put a club together. And again, here's where mentors, where people that have done this before can play an important role in helping you put a club together. If you have, go on, Carol.
I was just going to mention on thinking about pulling together your potential group of people. While it might start out with like a certain association, say Boeing retirees, while you might want to consider keeping the group open to friends of friends, as you said. You don't want to really narrow your perspective. I know some people look at just women's clubs or just men clubs. I really find diversity in clubs as far as what their experiences are really brings a club great perspective. So, for example, my first investment club, I loved it that we had one person from real estate, one that was a doctor, one that was an attorney, an engineer, you know, comes from lots of different walks of life and professions and industries. It really kind of gives you an interesting perspective on our economy when you have people from different walks of life in your group.
I agree with you 100%, Carol. The investment club that started 20 years ago with all school people today still has some educators in it, but we have a veterinarian, we have a couple of librarians, we have an insurance agent, we have a couple of engineers, we have a retail owner, a small business retail owner. So absolutely, you know, keep your club growing because you will lose members. There'll be all kinds of reasons why people will fall away from a club, and you want to keep that club vital. You want to keep people that are interested and that are moving the club forward with learning. When you're putting this group together for the first time, if you can get a chapter volunteer to come to your meeting in person or via cyberspace, that's a great thing to have that resource available there. You as the leader, as the potential person forming the club, would want to obviously set the first meeting, which means find a good location. You might even want to consider refreshments. And during that first meeting, you want to talk about general concepts, about what the club's purpose is. You want to do that in broad brushstrokes. You don't want to get very detailed at this point, but you do want to gauge interest. You know, are there a group of people that would want to meet 11 or 12 times a year to help learn about investing in the stock market? Once you gauge that interest and bring your group down to the interested folks, you should decide on various tasks that need to be accomplished. You might want to explore the better investing structure, the club accounting structure, find out the costs associated with both of those things. You'll be pleasantly surprised that better investing and the iClub accounting that we sponsor, that we endorse, you might be very surprised to find how low cost these alternatives are to give you tools to help put your portfolio together. You're going to want to explore a broker to use. You might need a bank or a credit union. You're going to need an employee identification number from the IRS. That's a real simple thing to get on the internet. You definitely will want a partnership agreement. I would urge you to take an agreement that works in some other club. We have many examples of agreements available for people to take a look at, but I would urge you to take one of those and use it as much as possible to avoid wasting a lot of time in writing your own and reinventing the wheel. You might have to file the name of your club with the county or with the state. You're going to want to decide meeting times and locations. How much will the capital contribution be? And before you leave that meeting, you want to make sure that you have people that will at least fill the three most important offices, which would be the presiding officer, the treasurer, and the educational vice president. You want to make sure that you have people that will step into those roles. At the end of the first meeting, set up the next meeting time. Set a goal for when you're going to actually start the first official meeting where you collect capital contributions, and at that point you're off and running. Carol.
There is a great document that outlines a lot of these steps. It's called the 10 Steps to Forming an Investment Club, and that was available as a handout with the event description for tonight. So if you don't know where that is, our backroom staff can help point you to that. Next
Carolyn,
we have...
Carolyn,
go ahead.
Ken, quick question. I had a question from one of our audience members asking, do the clubs always meet online?
Dennis, that's an excellent question. And there's three models that I know of. I know of clubs that meet entirely online. I know that clubs that meet entirely face-to-face. And I know of clubs, in fact, my three clubs, not my family club, but the other three clubs, they're kind of a hybrid kind of a thing where a group of us meet in a room, but we allow other of our members to come in remotely. We're showing on this slide right here one of the members who wasn't able to physically be at this particular investment club meeting. She's decided to come in. Carol, are they using Skype this particular time?
They are indeed. They're meeting at a library half a mile away from my house, actually, and the one is using Skype to come in remotely. So they do that pretty regularly. And the Puget Sound Model Investment Club, we meet 7 times per year online only. We live in a Seattle area, so a high traffic area. So we decided that made more sense for our members because we're spread out pretty geographically. Then we meet the other 4 times a year in person and still allow remote attendance. So anyone who wants to pop in and see how our model investment club operates, you're welcome. You can get information at betterinvesting.org/Puget, Puget.
Likewise with the Mid-Michigan Model Clubs, we're always welcoming folks to join our groups virtually, to come in through our GoToMeeting technology. And if you'd like to have an invitation to one of our Model Club meetings, we sponsor a number of Model Clubs, drop me an email and I'll get you some information. We do limit the number of folks that can come in virtually because we find that if we have too many, it becomes a distraction to the club itself. But we'll certainly be able to fit you in within a month or two of when you make a request to listen to what's going on. So how do we operate? Well, we have rules, and we write our rules. We have rules that are equivalent to the Constitution. They're rules that we don't change very often. They cover all the really important things about the partnership. But we also have operating procedures. Think of them as laws for the club. And then we also have guidelines and unwritten procedures and forms that we use to keep the club moving. Here's an example of members of one of the investment clubs out west. This is the father-son combination that Carol was talking about. And they're using a variation of our first cut form. If you're a Better Investing member, you're familiar with first cuts. They're stock studies done by members throughout the country, and they use a form to make the report so that it has some kind of a structure to it. And this model club has decided to adopt a variation of that form as the method that they will use to make a stock presentation to their club. Carol, you know a little bit more about this club. Did I forget anything about them?
Nope. I just found it very fascinating to see that they had just joined the Model Club 4 months ago. And the son was a student in college and very excited to be taking on this learning with his dad in the club. I thought it was great.
The legal partnership agreement is something that connects all the partners. It lists the names of the partners, and it's a signed, filed document. It protects the assets. It makes sure that my personal assets do not commingle with the assets of the other members of the club and that theirs don't commingle with mine. It protects us against lawsuits. It makes it very clear that the money that goes into a club stays with the person that invested it, and we're just pooling it for purposes of buying securities. Our club itself and every single member of the club are also members of Better Investing, and we recommend that that be true. Better Investing gives us all kinds of support and allows us to maintain the kinds of high standards that will lead to a successful portfolio. And then, of course, we meet regularly. A lot of clubs meet 11 or 10 times a year. This club happens to meet 12 times a year right through the summer. We learn to invest. We learn more about investing, and that's the key. The key isn't to build a huge portfolio with millions and millions of dollars, although that's very satisfying if that happens over time. But the key is that we meet to teach each other about investing. We meet to learn.
We follow a set of principles, some basic rules for investing in our Better Investing methodology. The first thing is to invest regularly. So in investment clubs, most clubs each member is contributing anywhere usually between $25 and $100 per month. That monthly meeting allows you to invest regularly. The second principle is that you want to take any of your dividends and your profits that you've had from sales of investments and reinvest that back into your portfolio. Keep your money working for you. The next item is that we want to buy high-quality growth stocks. That's really where we focus our time. We want to make sure that we are investing in stocks that are growing their revenues and their earnings. If you join an investment club and follow the Better Investing methodology, you'll probably learn the chant up, straight, and parallel. That's one of the fun things that we do. And lastly, importantly, is that you don't want to have all of your eggs in one basket. You want to diversify by industry and by size.
It's especially important for us to emphasize that this is not the only way to invest, but it is a way to invest for folks that want to spend a moderate amount of time managing their money, but aren't interested in spending days a month. We're looking at somebody willing to put together, including the investment club meeting, maybe put together 3 or 4 hours a month to learn about investing and to share that learning with other members in the club. Some of the first things that you'll teach and that you'll learn from each other in a brand new investment club are how to buy great stocks at reasonable prices. We'll teach each other how to use our primary document, which is called the stock selection guide. And that guide will help keep us focused on high-quality growth stocks selling at prices that leave enough room for appreciation so that we can make some money. You'll also learn how to sell a stock and when a stock should be sold. We'll teach in early clubs how to manage a portfolio. And in the first 2 years, we would hope that a club is able to put together a portfolio of somewhere between 6 and 10 stocks. So it very quickly becomes something that you have to learn how to manage. We'll teach about the tax man and how taxes can affect some of the choices you make, some of the decisions that you have to make. And we'll also talk about how we can handle different needs from different members. Each club is unique. Each club handles their problems according to their partnership agreement, and each club has a slightly different way of making money and putting that money to further use. But overall, we understand that we're trying to follow those 4 basic rules that Carol spoke about, and we're trying to focus on learning more about creating and maintaining a good portfolio. We set some goals for ourselves. We would like our portfolio to beat the market on a regular basis, and our goal is to beat it by about 5 points. That means over history, we'd love for our portfolios to grow at about 15% because we know the stock market, depending on how you measure growth, we know the stock market over history for a long period of time has grown on average at about 10%. So beating the market by 5 points, that 15% idea is ingrained in what we talk about at club meetings, and it's a goal that we set for ourselves. It's not necessarily a goal that we always reach, but it's a great goal to have out in front of you, keeping you focused on the return, keeping you focused on making some money.
Ken, we did get a question, I see, which goes right to this slide, and that is, does every club member contribute equally every month? And the answer to that is no. Club members can and do contribute different amounts each month. I may invest $30, and one of my other club partners might be investing $100 per month. So you can contribute different amounts, and the accounting software takes care of all of that to explain or keep track of what each person's investment in their club is. Another great benefit of the being in a club is that many people do take the skills that they're learning in their club and apply it to their own personal portfolio. I think, Ken, you had a good story about that.
Yeah, we polled recently our Mid-Michigan Model Club and was pleasantly surprised that at the beginning of the club, when members first came in, only 2 people in the club actually had personal portfolios. Everybody else was brand new to investing. They might have had some passive investments in 401ks, but none of them were trying to put together well-managed portfolios of money they had saved. That club, I told you now, is approaching 15 years old, And we're finding that more than half of the club now has their own personal portfolio. They're managing their own money. They're still putting in $50 or $100 a month to the model club, but most of their money is now being managed in their personal portfolio, and they're using lessons that they've learned from the model club. Many times, in fact, folks will even buy some of the same stocks that the club has invested in. The reasoning being that if the club has already decided it's a great investment and done all their homework, then it's probably a pretty good investment for my personal portfolio as well. It's important to tell everybody in a new club that all members can have full access to all financial reports. Most of our club accounting is done online, and that means that any member at any time can go to the accounting site and access any of the financial reports pertaining to the club. Now, they don't have the ability to change those reports. Only the treasurer can do that. But because we're so open, it makes the trust level zoom to the top. That's especially important if you're dealing with a group of people that are just kind of acquaintances or even strangers to each other. The trust level, isn't there at the very beginning, and even when the trust level is very high, the old Reagan saying of trust but verify is still pretty valid. People like to be able to look at the financial records and make sure that everything's running the way it should. Members do receive a K-1 for each tax year. If you're a mutual fund investor, you're familiar with what a K-1 is. If you're not familiar, it's basically just a form that tells you how much money in capital gains you've made, how much money in dividends you've made, and of course any dividends or capital gains that flow into your account will have to be reported on your personal income taxes.
Ken, I'd like to just mention a little bit that Better Investing does have an arrangement with Folio Investing to give Better Investing clubs free commission-free trades, and it works absolutely flawlessly with the club accounting software, so it makes your treasurer job really easy, and it also they do allow each member to have a view-only account so that they can see what's happening in their brokerage account online. So Folio Investing is a great resource.
Right, free is a great price to make your trades at, but even if you use a low-cost broker, many of those brokers mesh seamlessly with our accounting programs so that the accounting information from the broker flows directly into the accounting system and makes the treasurer's job extremely easy. This club accounting has been tested over a long period of time. We're sure that it operates correctly, and we're sure that it helps each member get credited to their account what should be credited to their account. Think mutual fund. The only difference between a mutual fund and an investing club is that a club values itself once a month, where a mutual fund puts a value on its units every night after the market closes. You can get a different price for a share of a mutual fund every single evening, but for a share or a unit of an investment club, you only give it a price once a month. These units are valued based on the value of the club's holdings. And your capital contributions by units, again, think mutual fund. If you were to send $500 to the mutual fund, when that check got there, they would divide by 500 by the value of one share on the day that the money arrived, and then that's how many shares you would buy. Well, in a club, when you hand in a check on the meeting date, the treasurer knows what a unit is worth because he just ran the unit valuation the night before, so he knows how many units your dollar amount will buy. Those are different in every club. In our new B.I. Baker Model Club, our units are only worth a little bit more than $11 right now. In our older NAIC Mid-Michigan Model Club, those units are worth up to $18, $19, $20 right now, depending on the day, because they've been around for a lot longer period of time. All of this is handled by club accounting, and nobody has to get really involved in it except to track the growth of their own portfolios. Here again, we have real members of a real investment club, just regular people like you and like me that were able to put a club together and are well on their way to financial freedom.
One important thing to remember is that your capital contributions belong to you, and you always have access to them according to how your partnership agreement is written. So some clubs might have that, 30 days or 60 days time period before you can get your withdrawals, and clubs have ways for you to take out a partial withdrawal if you were trying to help a child go to college, or if you wanted to take a trip, whatever. So they have partial times, or if you are leaving the club, ways that you can, not ways, you will get your money back. So it is all in your name, and the accounting software keeps track of your investment in the club.
I have a wonderful story about that, Carol. I told you that in the early days of my Wolves Investment Club, we recruited some of the best and brightest students. One of those students, in fact, two of those students are still in the club today, but one of them just celebrated his 40th wedding anniversary, and he wanted to do something really special for his wife. When they got married, he was able to afford a little teeny tiny diamond ring, and so he wanted to be able to give her something just to celebrate the fact that they had been very successful to this point in their lives. So he took a partial withdrawal from his account. We paid him out over a period of 60 days, and he took that money and he put it into a beautiful ring, and she was just as happy as can be. One more story about how clubs can structure their accounts if they choose. We have a club that was formed back in 1953. They're called the Mid-Michigan J-Vesters, and they're still plugging along. But they decided early on that they were going to cap the amount that their club was worth, and that everything over the cap they were going to distribute to the members based on how much of the club you actually owned. They were going to distribute that every single January. So they've been doing that now for about 45 years. There were a couple of years where they had enough money. One year they bought their wives diamond necklaces. One year they all went on a cruise together. There have also been years when they've taken and eaten a McDonald's meal together, and they had a great time doing that. They were only able to get one hamburger and some French fries each with their profits that year, and there have been years when they haven't actually reached the cap that they've put on their club. But it's a very interesting way to keep the dollars at a very manageable place, and to take some of that money that you work so hard at putting together and to use it for something that's a little tiny bit on the frivolous side. The clubs this particular club just enjoys doing that so much. They've been together for a lot of years now, and it's something that they wouldn't give up if we had to force them. They wouldn't do it.
So Ken, I got a quick question I saw come through. Do clubs invest only in stocks, mutual funds, bonds, both?
The way that most clubs are structured is that they invest in common stocks. Most of the ways that we have for evaluating companies focuses on evaluating common stocks. It's possible for clubs to invest in almost anything they would like, but at least for a new club, and for a reasonable period of time, I would suggest a portfolio made up of common stocks. I would also suggest that there are so many things to learn about investing just in the stock market that you could probably stay on that goal for 30 or 40 or 50 years and still not learn everything there was to learn. I know many of our clubs, for example, after they get some experience, begin to dabble a little bit in options. They look to trade buy options or sell options, and that's perfectly within the province of what we teach and what we're trying to learn from each other. But we don't have tools that give us a real good read on how to evaluate the potential return for a mutual fund or for a bond. I don't think you'll find many analysts that have tools that will help you in that area either. All you have to go on is past performance, and so much performance in a mutual fund depends on who the manager of the mutual fund happens to be. I think there's probably enough, and like I said, most clubs focus on common stocks. The primary goal for most clubs is to learn, and the dollar amounts aren't really that important. I know of clubs that put in as little as $25 a person per time. I know of clubs that put in $100 per person. I know of clubs, 2 of them are my own clubs, that allow a variable contribution depending on whatever you feel comfortable putting in on that particular month. But we all understand that the primary thing we're coming to club meetings for is not to make a pile of cash. Take what you've learned, because the learning is the key, and apply it to a personal portfolio. I'm happy to say that every single member of the Wolves Investment Club is now managing their own personal portfolio, and only one person came to that club with any kind of a stock portfolio in any way, shape, or form, and it was a portfolio that he had inherited from his father. So learning is what it's all about. Learning is what we're focusing on. And, you know, we also want to tell you to take some time to dream. Carol, what kind of dreams are you saving for right now?
Oh, I have a dream of a world cruise. And I do know a lot of other people who are saving for different things, like you mentioned, paying off their mortgage or college for their grandkids. That's one I'm working with some family members right now, is how to save for their grandkids.
Our family investment club has its stated goal to have at least 2 years of college fully paid for all of the grandchildren by the time they reach college age. I'm happy to say right now that we're at about 2 3/4 years of college, as long as they're not going to go to the Ivy League, and that's a pretty long shot for a couple of them. So
Yeah.
they're great kids, but they're not going to the Ivy League, I don't think.
Yeah.
I just wanted to relay to you folks that if you find a good club and if you make regular investments in a good club, if you learn, then with a little time to allow compounding to occur, you can accumulate enough money to make almost any dream a reality. And I've just given you a very small list of things that somebody might dream for. You can set your own dreams and decide where you want to head, but it's all about people just like you and me. Virtually none of them had experience before they joined an investment club, and now they're making sure that they have financial freedom as they move towards eventual retirement.
I definitely have visited many clubs where people come from different walks of life. I visited a club on my drive on Long I-90 in North Dakota. It was a group of farmers. So you find really interesting groups across this country where people are pulling together to learn how to invest and be successful at it.
I'm doing a shout out to the two newest members of the NAIC Mid-Michigan Model Club. They're down here in the bottom right corner. They're a young, newly married couple in their late 20s, early 30s that have just decided that it's time now to learn. I wish that I would have had that same insight when I was 28 years old that these folks have today. They're certain to have some success as they learn about putting a portfolio together and as they save for a great retirement. If you need more information about better investing or about clubs, or if you're considering forming or joining an investment club, then don't be afraid to give Better Investing, drop them an email at service, or call the number that we have right here. It's toll-free, 877-ASK-NAIC. Carol, and my email address is coming up right here after we look at these resources. If you go to the Better Investing webpage, you'll see that we've put a large article right on the front page that says if you're interested in starting an investment club, then you can click here to get started. If you need any information, try betterinvesting.org/clubs, and if you still can't figure out where you have to go to get good information or where you go to get answers to how do you make this thing a reality, then don't be afraid to drop Carol and I an email. We both answer many, many emails throughout the year, and we'll be happy to answer yours. I think that you might even be able to convince one or both of us to be a mentor occasionally to clubs that are popping up without a local chapter somewhere nearby. We can always do it via cyberspace, and we can always answer your questions and be in communication. Dennis, that concludes our discussion for this evening. Are there any other questions we can answer?
Yeah, Ken, there's a couple. Does BI have teaching DVDs and materials on investing?
Oh, absolutely. There are so many free activities that go on through Better Investing, free webinars. There are so many extremely low-cost webinars on how to evaluate stocks, both for beginners and for intermediate level investors. We have them already recorded. They're in our store on demand. Right now, I think that you can get the five webinar beginner series. That's about an 8-hour series of classes, and I think that we're selling it for $15 if I'm not mistaken. So our materials are extremely low cost. They're taught by people that know our tools and that are able to communicate to you how to use our tools. So there's all kinds of materials. Ticker Talk is a monthly program. It's free, open to our Better Investing members, where we talk about all kinds of investing topics on a monthly basis. We also make a once-a-month presentation, and we're branding a brand new program starting in September called Stock Up, where we'll be talking about stocks, portfolio management, and all the different things that go into keeping you safe on your way to putting a great portfolio together.
I'd like to add that we also have a series of handbooks for those of you that learn better by reading. There's one on how to do a stock analysis, another one on portfolio management. There's even a book on managing an investment club, and we also have our members who submit stock analysis. We talked about that a little bit earlier. A first cut, it's called, so you can read through somebody else's analysis of a company. So it's a really great community, lots of resources. Most of us, we're all pretty much, as Dennis mentioned early on, we're a volunteer community, so we take time out of our day to help one another.
We also have great tools that are available for folks to use. We have PC-based tools. We have cloud-based tools that operate on any basic platform, and those tools are all aimed at identifying great growth stocks and then identifying prices where we would want to buy them so there's enough appreciation left for us to make some decent money. Again, all these things, we'd be glad to spend the next 3 hours talking about all the good that's come to our lives from better investing, but we think that it's one of the most important things that people can do to make the decision to become financially secure and to play a part in their own financial security and in their own financial freedom.
Fantastic. I have no other questions. You guys have covered the material just fabulously. Are there any you guys want to make any last comments before we sign off?
Well, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to talk to people that we don't normally get to talk to. And again, I'm speaking for myself, and I'll let Carol speak for herself, but I'm very interested in promoting our mission and in sending the idea out to as many people as will listen that investment clubs are a great way to learn about managing your money. So please don't be afraid to drop me a line. If you're looking for a club mentor, call in Better Investing, talk to Better Investing. I think that I'm going to be part of that program, and that's the kind of thing that I just love to do with brand new members, is get you past the first 18 months or 2 years of a club. Once a club reaches the 1.5 to 2 year point, they're pretty sound, they're pretty able to stay together and move forward. It takes a little bit of time sometimes to move them through that first 18 months, and we're going to be able to help you do that if you're going to be able to get a group of people together that want to do that. Carol, what do you think?
I am in complete agreement. I have learned so much from Better Investing, and I volunteer the number of hours I do because I want to give back from what I've learned. And truly, setting up clubs, visiting clubs, that is truly one of my favorite things to do, and I'm just here to share it, and I absolutely want to help you, so use my email.
Thanks a lot, Dennis, for asking us to help out tonight. Oh, thank you both. You guys are wonderful and really appreciate your time and the great presentation and the excellent information you shared with us here. Folks, as Ken mentioned, be sure to check out our Club Open House webpage you saw on the screen, the betterinvesting.org/clubs. There you'll be able to sample some of the investing tools and the educational offerings that Ken and Carol were talking about, as well as our monthly magazine. You can learn more about the unlimited commission free brokerage account, the Folio account that they were talking about. So you can get some real good information there. So be sure to check that out. And if you were able to see the kiosk that was playing before the formal presentation began, you may have noticed that there's a live online session of our open house coming up this Monday, June 30th, and that's at 8:30 Eastern Time. And join us for that session if you want to learn more about the many benefits of Better Investing membership and all that it offers, it can do for you. If you want, you can register for that event at betterinvesting.org/events. So that's betterinvesting.org/events, and you'll find the open house session listed there. So thanks again for being here with us tonight. We hope you enjoyed the presentation and will consider joining us for many more in the future. In the meantime, we wish you successful lifelong investing. Thank you, folks.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.